Welcome back, Officer Republic. It's your course on Normal Police Chief APGAINS for another episode of the When to Farm playlist, the playlist where we tell you when to farm everything so that you can look at your own roster and decide for yourself when the best time to pick up pieces. Now, it'll all make sense, obviously, if you do subscribe to the Patreon. Use the Cube Discord bot, which allows you to see a broader overview of the offensive and defense height and width of your account so you know where the holes are. You can then refer to the playlist and be, I need an offensive Galactic Legend. I need a big boost in offense. That would lead you to today's video, Sith Eternal Emperor. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Because we exist in a very quality meta, right? We exist in a quality meta where there are a bunch of Galactic Legends. There's a ton of backbone teams. Ships are super important. The core teams are always important. It's hard to truly say for certain that there's one specific thing that you should do and the one specific, and all of the other things don't make sense. And the reason I created, I wanted the cube to be in existence, and the reason I'm doing this playlist is so you guys can look at your own rosters, identify what the problems are, and then pick from a selection of characters that fill that void so that you can have a personalized, customized account that makes you happy and wins you grand arenas. Now, Sith Eternal Emperor is a fantastic offensive Galactic Legend, right? He's a fantastic offensive Galactic Legend. He just got Bane, which should be hitting the game in the next few days of the time of recording this. It might actually be out and fully 7 stars by a lot of people. You might have even see some nice testing from Arnold before this video even comes out. And Bane is going to skyrocket the usability of this Galactic Legend, right? Sith Eternal Emperor, is going to be much more valuable if you have a nice, powerful Bane. Now, here's the thing. Sith Eternal Emperor is frequently a character that people in the past, against my direction, I'll be perfectly honest, but in the past have gotten quite early because he's a relatively easy Galactic Legend, relative to the others to unlock. Now, here's the thing. If you already have Sith Eternal Emperor, I don't know why you're watching this, go do Conquest, get Bane, and have the team be better. If you don't, and you're a lower GP player, you're under 5.5, 6 million GP, it's probably not a great idea to get Sith Eternal Emperor if your account isn't already perfect. And what I mean by that is the perfect roster has always and will always be the greatest combination of height and width, offense and defense. If you have all core 8 teams, you probably also need some ships and a couple of auxiliary teams and a couple of backbone teams. If you have GLs, you want to skew more towards defensive Galactic Legends, but at the very least, you should have an even number of offensive and defensive Galactic Legends, right? The only time in the 3 to 5 million GP range that farming Sith Eternal Emperor specifically makes sense is if all of your other Galactic Legends are defensive, right? If, let's say you have, let me just go to squads here. Let's say you have your core 8, right? You got all your core 8 teams. They're there. Good, quality. You have some backbone teams. If your backbone teams are defensive backbone teams, like you have Malgus and Radis, well, Radis is kind of offensive, but if you have Malgus and, say Treya, for instance, Zori, Dash, like if your backbone teams are defensive, and your Galactic Legends are defensive as well, you have, JMK, maybe not Leia because you're a low GP player, but let's say you have JMK and Rey and Jabba, right? And you're doing Lightspeed bundles, obviously, because they exist. You're a little skewed to the defensive side, and at this point, this is where an SLKR or a Sith Eternal Emperor would probably be a good, be good to implement. The thing is, you're not going to have all of that stuff at the lower GPs. It's impossible to have a 3 million GP player with all of the things that I just listed. So realistically, when you're considering actually adding Sith Eternal Emperor at the right time for your account, you're probably 5 to 6 plus million GP. You probably have 2 defensive GLs, plus you probably have both of the Lightspeed GLs because they're $10. You probably you're adding backbone teams every couple of conquests, right? Your roster is developed. You get to the point where you're punching up and your opponents are, 3 million GP, which isn't the worst thing at your spot, but you're facing people at 9, 10, 11 million galactic power. And you need heavy hitters because, you need a better Jabba or Leia counter or something like that. Or you need an off JMK counter so you can flex your current JMK. You know what I mean? You need flexibility on the offensive because GAC so very much rewards defensive play. You can very frequently go too far in the defensive direction. This is where Sith Eternal Emperor is actually great. If you have overcommitted defensively, which is not a bad thing, obviously, if you would go to the Patreon and use the cube, you would see that you're too defensive and you need to get a little bit more height. But it is something that a lot of players can fall into. This is where SLKR, this is where Sith Eternal Emperor become super valuable because you can take a big leap forward. You can take a Jabba or a JMK or a Leia off the field, especially if you're, at that point you'll be in Proving Grounds as opposed to Conquest, but especially if you're progressing towards those Darth Bane shards, because you're able to take one of their biggest tools on defense off the board. It allows you more flexibility with the rest of your offensive attack because you are likely, if you're punching up, going to be so heavily focused on defense. If you go for a Sith Eternal Emperor early, I will not fault you. He's fun. He's cool. The is awesome. I get it. It's Star Wars. We should all, the cube is three dimensions: time, money, will to live. Will to live is an equal part of Galaxy of Heroes. But if you're a GAC monkey and you truly want to win as much as humanly possible, you're probably slotting Sith Eternal Emperor in as GL5, right? You're probably slotting him in as GL5. You probably have the Pyramid Scheme of Success, of Sadness of Success, JML, Jabba Leia. You probably have JMK. You probably have one or two of the Lightspeed bundles, and then you're adding Sith Eternal Emperor. Me, I went, 1, 2, 3, and then Lightspeeds came out, but I was probably going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then honestly at that point I probably would have gone 5. By the time I got there, Bane would have probably been announced. I probably would have gone to Sith Eternal Emperor, and then got these guys afterwards. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later.